from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. Now I'm going to do an autumn themed soap today, and what I'm starting with is some sort of scrap bars of soap. Now when I made this soap, I deliberately made it with the intention of it was never going to be a final soap. I did this as a practice with the Soap Challenge Club when we did the swing swirl. I did this as a little practice, and you can see I was practicing. I was trying to do a butterfly with this swing swirl, and to be honest, they came out pretty cool, but it was sort of always intended just to be a practice bar, so they came out quite good. And the reason I chose these colours was because I thought, well, unless they turned out to be spectacular and hit straight off good enough to be an entry, I was always going to do something else with them. They're not going to be good enough to sell on their own because they're all a bit weird. So I was always intending on the purpose of these in the end was going to be reused in another soap. So therefore when I made them, I didn't do my whole loaf. My whole loaf basically has 18 bars in them, and you can see I just shortened it and did a little bit of a practice. So my intention was always to reuse these, and this is why I've done the sort of oranges and blacks and that to give me some autumnal type colours. So now has come the time that I am going to reuse them, and what I want to do with them is shred them up like you often do with used soaps. Now since then I've just kept them wrapped in plastic. Okay, I've kept them wrapped and I've kept them sealed in a bag so that they haven't cured and got all hard, so they're going to be nice and firm. So I'm just going to shred these. Now normally when I shred soap, if I'm going to make a confetti soap or something, I would typically do a much finer shred. Now with this one, I do actually want to have it quite a chunky shred, but I don't actually want the shreds to be as long as I've just done. So I'm using a much fatter grate on this shred, as it were, to get these shredded. And it's going to shred nice and easy because, as I said, it's only been made a few weeks, this soap, but it's been kept in plastic ever since, so it can't dry out and cure. So I'm just going to get these done. And the fragrance is sweet orange chili pepper, so that's quite good for a nice sort of autumn theme anyway. Okay, so there's all that done. Okay, it's a bit of a mixture as we've got the orange and the black and the white. That's fine, that'll be good for what I've got planned. I've just got some brown soap dough here. This is chestnut brown from Pure Rock Colours, and I'm going to make a cute little hedgehog. So I'm going to extrude this using my large extruder. So I've got my first disc in my large extruder cap. All of these discs and that I'm going to be using today for the hedgehog and the autumn leaves and that are all available in the shop, as is the large extruder tool. So let's just get some soap dough sort of manipulated so it's pliable. My extruder, screw the cap on, and then let's just get this extruded. I'll just extrude one bit and then the other leaves and that I'll do off screen, because I'm sure you don't need to watch all of them, and then we'll get this soap put together.
I've been feeling so small, watch the clock ticking off the wall, but tonight I'm letting it go.
I've done all of my extruding, so as you can see here, these are the two bits for my hedgehog. We'll join those together in a second, and these I've just done some sunshine yellow, terracotta red, and this is a mixture of sunshine yellow and terracotta red, just because for this assessment I don't have an orange allowed in this assessment, so I have to use a combination of the other colours. So those are going to be autumn leaves, so they've just extruded sort of like some little maple leaves, and all of these discs are available in the shop if you want some. And then what I'm going to do is just going to join my hedgehog. So my hedgehog's got this brown body. Just going to put some distilled water And then just take the little hedgehog face. Okay, and then that will just slip very nicely into the little hedgehog body there. Okay, so you can see a little hedgehog there. Okay, I'm just going to let that, make sure that's stuck well together, and start mixing up our soap. I've got my oils for my first layer and my lye and sodium lactate. So let's just get these mixed together. Now they're in what seems like a rather large jug. Now that's deliberate because I'm going to be blending those shreds that you saw me make earlier into this. Okay. Now I do want this two different colours. I want some of it to be terracotta red and I want some of it to be yellow. So I'm going to split this off. Okay. And let's just get these colours in. So my terracotta red and my sunshine yellow. Both of these are from Mica Mama. So the fragrance I use is the same as I used for the shreds. It's sweet orange chili pepper from Nature's Garden. Now I've got quite a lot of shred I've got going in here. Almost looks like quite a bit more shred than it is soap, but it's about the same amount of shred as there is soap. And I wouldn't normally do this for something like, you know, a normal confetti soap. I wouldn't normally use this much, but it's just going to be a part of the soap. Now, again, normally I would chop my shred a lot smaller than this, but I deliberately wanted this shred to be sort of in chunky bits, just so it looks like a pile of leaves. I want it to actually sort of be an element in my soap. Now, I know it's not really going to look like leaves, but it's going to hopefully give that sort of impression. Now, I'm just going to leave this just to thicken slightly. I'm a little bit nervous because obviously I don't want holes in my soap, but I don't want all this soap batter kind of falling off the shred. So let's see, I'm going to get some of it in. Let's get some of it in here. Okay, so I'm quite happy that that is nice and solidly filled, so I've not really got the worries that that soap is going to dribble all off the shred. I think it's okay. I've got enough soap to keep that shred covered. I'm quite happy with that. Now I do need to shape this a bit more. So again, it's still too floppy. What I want it to be is sort of like mounded up on one side. So I'm going to have my hedgehog down one side, and then I want the rest of the shred mounded up. So I'm just going to leave this to start setting up, and then I'm going to shape it and then pop my little hedgehog in. I've taken my mould and I'm just going to just prop it up one side because I want most of these shreds to be going towards the other side. And I'm just going to sort of push them a bit and start making this mound that I want. Because what I want to do as well is create space for my hedgehog. And ideally I'd like to get the hedgehog in whilst these shreds are still sort of pretty fluid, so it gets a good grounding. So let's get little Hedgie in. There it is. Just make sure we put it up the right way. Okay, I'm going to have that tucked right over the side here. And have that pushed in. And that way I should have a good grounding into the shred. And now I can start playing with the rest of this to sort of get the shred pile where I want it. Because this is going to be sort of like the pile of leaves the little hedgehog is snuffling towards. These leaves and maybe bits of stick sticking out and all that sort of stuff. Now I am going to be doing some piping on the top, so I'm just going to make up my piping now. I'm going to leave that there. Now for the piping, to do this whole top, you're not going to need much. I'm going to do like 100 grams of oil to make my piping up. Okay, so that'll be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to weigh out my lye solution and my sodium lactate and just get this piping made up. I'm going to do it a green colour, Emerald Lagoon, for the top of my soap. So I'll get that done and get that piping setting up, and then hopefully by the time that's done our little hedgehog will be ready. So I've mixed up the soap for my final layer and I've divided it into two parts. I've got 2/3 of it in here and 1/3 of it in here. And I'm going to do an ombre, so it sort of goes from green to blue for the rest of my soap. So it sort of looks like grass going into sky. So this green is Emerald Lagoon from Pure Rock Colours. Okay, so that's 1/3 of the soap. And then this blue is Shimmer Blue from Mica Mama. And I've done the same amount of Shimmer Blue as titanium dioxide, so it gives me a sort of a lighter blue. Okay, so those are my colours. And then I'm just going to add my fragrance oil. So I'm going to ombre this in. So let's get my little Cheshire cat from Custom Craft Tools. Anything like a tin or something will do to get everything sorted and on a level. I used to just use little tins before I got this. Right, that's fine. Okay, now with this clear mould, you should be able to see sort of what I'm doing. So I'm going to start off with my green, because I want to have green sort of around my hedgehog. I might make that a bit of a shallower tilt actually. I do want to be able to tip down the side, but I don't want it too extreme. Okay, I think that will do. Okay, so I'm doing a reasonably decent amount of green to start with, because I do want to have some sort of bit looking a bit like the grass, and then I'm just going to gradually bring my blue in.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall, but tonight I'm letting it go. Spend
am going to be adding in my little leaves.
I wanna drive a faster car. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me.
I don't really mind what angle these are on. Ideally, I want them sort of quite random. So I don't want them, ideally, I don't want them facing all the same way.
Not to hold me down, feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me. Look at those beautiful stars. I wanna drive a faster car. Lay my troubles to rest. Blow the smoke through my cigarette. City lights looking fun.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to leave that to set up a little bit and wait for my icing. Do a little bit of clearing up, and also I'm just going to slice these into some little thin slivers. Come on, focus. And slice these into some little thin slivers. So I'm just going to finish off this top here with, I've got some little pumpkins that I made from the pumpkin embed mould that I sell. It's really cute little pumpkins that fit perfectly as embeds at the top. I've chopped up those little leaves. I've got my piping set up. I do have some piped leaves. I may or may not use these. These are just where I had some spare battery in the past and I piped them. So I'm just going to put this top together, probably to some music, and then we'll get things finished off.
Hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. All the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm. Before I sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through and through. No limit to what.
Okay, so here's our soap all finished now. A little bit busy on top, but I quite like that, the sort of scattering of the autumn leaves and the pumpkins and the little sort of tendrils off the pumpkins. So I'm just going to pop this into gel overnight and then we'll see what it's like in the morning. Here we are the next day with our soap. I'm really pleased with that top. That's come out really pretty. I'm glad they didn't fill it in anymore. I'm just happy with the amount of bits and pieces that I've got on that. Right, so let's get this cut. Sometimes I get asked about what this is in the end of my soap. With moulds I've got, I find that when I cut them, I always trim a little bit off the end, but the length of the mould seems to be made to do exactly the number of bars without any little end bits on. And I like to shave a little bit off the end, and what that means is I was wasting an awful lot of soap, because then I was almost throwing a whole bar of soap away. And I know people sort of say you can use it for samples. I don't like really giving end pieces as samples because I always think they look a bit scruffy, and I actually make samples of soap. So this is just a block that I have signed by soap mould, which then keeps the soap to the length that I want so that I'm not wasting unnecessary soap each time I make a soap in that mould. Because I was basically ending up with this sort of not quite a bar sort of thing, not being the right size. And the only reason I don't fill up a full mould, as it were, is I just find it easier to cut through, not quite a whole loaf on here. It's just not as much to push down on. There we are. Let's move this chunk out the end. Okay, so remember we've got our hedgehog snuffling up that big pile of sticks and leaves and all of that sort of stuff with those autumn leaves falling down on it. So let's have a look, see what we've got. Ah, here he is, snuffling in there with his autumn leaves. That's come out quite cute, hasn't it? There's our little hedgehog. Big old pile of leaves. Remember I had quite a lot of shred for that one. So there we've got them snuffling along in the sort of leaves and the undergrowth. And then the little pumpkin design that we've got on the top there. So that sun's a bit dazzly. Let me just shut the blinds a bit. Let's see if that'll come out better. There we are. Our little, I'm going to call it Snuffles, I think. Snuffles, or a little snuffly hedgehog. Okay, so again, just a different way of using up soap shreds rather than just doing a pure confetti style soap, just trying to make them a feature in your other soap. Okay, and then I find my end block typically, because I measure the end soap, let me just show you here, this end soap here to make sure it's the right width, and then I can just literally go through and it takes off my end block with, and most of that is just the block. Oh gosh, that's sun. Okay, sorry, probably a bit of a weird jump in the video there. Just that the sun came through really strong and it just blinded everything out. So I just wanted to show that by the time I've done this cut, I've then ended up with hardly any wastage at all. Whereas you can see I was wasting all this much soap. I've now just got this tiny weeny little sliver that I'd like to take off the end anyway, so you get the best bit of the pattern going all the way through. Here comes the sun again. And here are a couple of final photos of the soap just to finish off. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up, because that does really help with the analytics and the algorithm and getting my videos seen by other people. If you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!